There is a moment that most people never recognize, and it is not the moment they expect. It is not the blinding flash of revelation. It is not the day everything finally comes together. It is not some future crossing that you are still walking toward. The moment I am talking about already happened, and the fact that you do not fully believe that yet is the last remaining echo of a reality you have already left behind. Stay with me here, because what we are going to explore together is not another promise about what is coming for you. It is a recognition of what has already occurred, something so subtle that your mind skipped right over it, even as your entire life began to reorganize around it. You have been looking for the doorway, but the doorway is behind you. You walked through it, and the only thing left is the adjustment, the slow, sometimes disorienting process of your perception catching up to the position you already hold. Let me explain what I mean, and I want to begin with something very specific, because this is not abstract philosophy. This is physics. This is the nature of reality as we can actually observe it. In 1999, a team of physicists in Vienna conducted an experiment that should have gotten far more attention than it did. They were working with molecules called fullerenes, carbon-60 molecules, sometimes called buckyballs. These are not subatomic particles. They are relatively large molecules, made up of 60 carbon atoms arranged in a shape like a soccer ball. And what the team demonstrated was that these molecules, these tangible, measurable, substantial objects, exhibited wave interference patterns when passed through a double-slit apparatus, meaning they behaved as waves, spreading out, interfering with themselves, landing on the detector in a pattern that only makes sense if each molecule traveled through both slits simultaneously. Now, here is where it becomes directly relevant to what you are living through right now. The interference pattern, the wave behavior, only appeared when no one was watching which slit the molecule went through. The moment a detector was placed to observe the path, the pattern collapsed. The molecules started behaving like particles, like solid little balls going through one slit or the other, never both. The act of observation, of conscious measurement, collapsed the spread of possibility into a single defined outcome. This is not metaphor. This is not a poetic reinterpretation. This is what the data showed, and it has been replicated with increasingly large molecules in the decades since. The implication is staggering, and most people glide right past it because the implication is too uncomfortable. It means that the state of a system is not fixed until it is observed. Before observation, the system exists in superposition, a smeared-out field of every possible state layered on top of one another. After observation, one state crystallizes, one reality becomes actual, the rest dissolve. Now hold that. Hold the mechanics of it in your mind while I draw you into something closer to your own experience. Think about the last time something shifted inside you. Not a decision you made with your rational mind, not a goal you set, not an affirmation you repeated until you half believed it. I mean a genuine internal shift, a moment where something you had been carrying for years, a belief, a fear, a pattern of seeing yourself, simply stopped being true. You may not have been able to name it at the time. You might not have noticed it for days, even weeks. But at some point you looked back and realized that the person who used to react that way, who used to collapse into that old spiral, who used to feel small in that particular familiar manner, was gone. Not suppressed, not managed. Gone. And in their place was someone who did not need to try to be different, because the difference had already happened at a level beneath effort. That is the crossing. and it did not happen when you think it did. Most spiritual teachings, most self-help frameworks, most manifestation content positions, the transformation as something ahead of you, something you are working toward. A vibrational state you need to reach, a frequency you have not yet tuned into, and that framing, as well-intentioned as it is, keeps you locked in the one orientation that prevents you from receiving what is already here. It keeps you in the posture of reaching. And reaching, by definition, implies distance. It implies separation between you and the thing you want. It implies that the crossing has not yet occurred. But what if the crossing is not a future event? What if it is a past one? What if the reason your old life feels so strange, so ill-fitting, so weirdly distant even when the external circumstances have not fully changed yet, is that you are no longer the consciousness that belongs to it? What if the discomfort you feel right now is not a sign that something is wrong, but the precise sensation of a wave function that has already collapsed into a new state, while the residual patterns of the old state are still decohering around you? If this is landing for you, if something in your chest just opened even slightly, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. This matters more than you know. Now let me continue. Let me bring in a concept that will make this sharper. In quantum mechanics, there is a process called decoherence. It is one of the most important ideas in modern physics and one of the least discussed outside academic circles. Decoherence is what happens when a quantum system interacts with its environment in a way that causes the superposition, the layered field of possibilities, to effectively dissolve. The system does not just snap from wave to particle instantaneously. What happens is subtler. The quantum coherence, the delicate relationship between all the possible states, leaks into the surrounding environment. The information that held those possibilities together gets dispersed, scattered into the noise of the larger system. And what remains is a single, classical-looking outcome. One defined state, one reality. But here is the part that matters. Decoherence is not instantaneous from the perspective of the system living through it. If you've been doing everything right and reality still hasn't shifted, this is the one thing nobody has told you. You meditate, you visualize, you affirm every single morning, and still, somehow, the life you're calling in stays just out of reach. It is not your effort. It is not your mindset. There is something underneath all of it, quietly running the show. I am hosting a free live transmission where I walk you through exactly what that is and how to finally shift it at the root. The link to register is in the description below. Save your seat. The moment you see this, you will understand why you could not see it before. The collapse, the crystallization into one reality, may happen in a flash at the quantum level. But the environmental adjustment, the process by which everything around the system catches up to the new state, takes time. The echoes of the old superposition linger. The environment still carries traces of possibilities that are no longer real but have not yet fully dissipated. This is exactly what you are experiencing. You crossed. The wave function of your identity, your deep internal state, collapsed into something new. But the environment, your relationships, your habits, your external circumstances, your own nervous system's learned responses, these are still decohering. They are still catching up. And because you are a conscious being living inside the process, you feel the lag. You feel the strange friction of being someone new inside a life that was built for someone old. You feel the dissonance, and because no one has explained to you what decoherence actually feels like from the inside, you have been interpreting that dissonance as evidence that the shift has not happened yet, that you are still waiting, still not there. You are there. The dissonance is not a sign of incompletion. It is the signature of completion that has not yet propagated through the full system. Let me take this deeper, because I do not want you to just understand this intellectually. I want you to feel the truth of it in a place that is older than your thinking mind. There is a phenomenon in neuroscience called the readiness potential. It was first identified by Hans Helmut Kornhuber and Luder Dika in 1964, and it was later made famous by Benjamin Libet's experiments in the 1980s. What Libet found was that the brain begins preparing for a voluntary action, a simple wrist flick in his experiments, approximately 500 milliseconds before the person consciously decides to act. Half a second. The electrical buildup in the motor cortex, the readiness potential, was already ramping up before the subject reported any awareness of having made a decision. This finding has been debated for decades, and rightly so. It raises profound questions about free will, about the relationship between consciousness and the brain, about what it means to choose. But I want to draw your attention to something specific about it that connects directly to what we are exploring. The readiness potential tells us that the body moves before the mind knows it has decided to move. The shift happens beneath the surface. The conscious recognition comes after. And this is not a flaw. This is not a limitation. This is how deep change actually works. The deepest transformations in your life did not begin when you consciously decided to change. They began in a subterranean layer of your being that you do not have direct access to, a layer that reorganized itself according to principles you did not choose and a timeline you did not set. By the time you became aware of the shift, it was already well underway. By the time you could name it, it was already done. This is why so many people who are genuinely transforming feel like they are failing, because they are measuring their progress by conscious awareness, by what they can see and name and track. And the real crossing happened in the dark, beneath the floorboards of their attention, in the deep architecture of their being. They are standing in the new house wondering why they have not arrived yet, because they were looking out the window for a moving truck that already came and went while they were asleep. I want to pause here and ask you something. When did you first sense that something inside you had already changed, even before your circumstances reflected it? I would love to hear your answer in the comments below. Now I want to address something that might be arising in you right now, because I know how the mind works when it encounters an idea like this. Part of you is listening and feeling a deep resonance, a quiet recognition, almost a relief. And another part of you, probably a louder part, is already constructing objections. It is saying, if I have already crossed, then why does my life still look like this? Why am I still struggling with the same financial pressure, the same relationship pattern, the same health challenge, the same emotional loop? If the shift already happened, where is the evidence? This is the most important question you could ask right now, and the answer is going to require you to rethink what evidence actually means. Consider what happens when a star collapses. Not a small star, a massive one, many times the mass of our sun. When the nuclear fuel in its core is exhausted, the outward pressure that has been holding the star against its own gravity disappears. The core collapses in on itself in a fraction of a second. The outer layers, however, do not know yet. Information travels at the speed of light, and the star is enormous. So for a brief period, the surface of the star is still shining, still radiating, still looking exactly like a healthy, burning star, while the core has already become something entirely different. A neutron star, a black hole. The deepest layer has already undergone the most radical transformation in the universe, and the surface has not received the news. Then the shock wave arrives. The outer layers are blasted outward in a supernova, one of the most energetic events in the cosmos. And what is left is the new thing, the collapsed core, the dense, transformed object that was already there before the explosion made it visible. You are in the lag between the core collapse and the shock wave. The deepest part of you has already reorganized. The surface of your life has not received the signal yet. And the discomfort, the pressure, the sense that something is building, that things cannot stay the way they are much longer, that is not anxiety. That is the shockwave approaching. That is your external reality about to be reorganized to match what your internal reality has already become. But you have to understand something about this process, and this is where most teachings fail you. The shockwave is not something you create through effort. It is not something you accelerate through visualization or affirmation or trying harder. The shockwave is a consequence. It is the inevitable result of the core having already changed. Your job is not to create the external shift. Your job is to stop interfering with the propagation of a shift that has already occurred. And this is where it gets practical, where it gets specific to what you are actually living through right now. The primary way you interfere with the propagation is through a very specific mental habit. You keep checking. You keep measuring. You keep looking at your external reality and asking, has it changed yet? And every time you do that, you are performing an act of observation that is functionally identical to placing a detector at the slit. You are collapsing the unfolding wave of possibility back into the particle of your old expectation. You are telling the field, I still see the old reality, and the field, which responds to observation, says, noted, here is more of what you are observing. This is not magical thinking. This is the observer effect, extended from the quantum to the experiential. The mechanism is the same. What you attend to with conviction, what you measure with certainty, what you observe with the full weight of your belief, that is what crystallizes. And if you keep attending to the absence of change, you keep crystallizing the absence of change, even as the deep structure beneath it has already shifted. So what do you do instead? This is where I want to offer you something you can actually work with. Not a concept, not a philosophy, but a specific practice that addresses this exact dynamic. I want you to try something right now, wherever you are. Take a breath. Not a deep, dramatic breath, just a normal one. And as you exhale, I want you to notice something very specific. Notice the gap between the end of the exhale and the beginning of the next inhale. There is a space there. It is usually about 1 to 3 seconds, though it varies. In that space, you are not breathing in and you are not breathing out. You are in between. You are in the pause. Now, what I want you to notice about that pause is that you do not panic in it. You do not gasp. You do not rush to fill it. Your body rests in it with complete trust that the next breath will come. There is no effort in the pause, There is no anxiety. There is no checking. Your body does not look around frantically and ask, "Where is the next breath? Has it arrived yet?" What if it does not come? It simply rests in the gap, and the breath comes. This is the exact posture I am asking you to adopt toward your life right now. The shift has happened. The core has collapsed. The breath is coming. And your only task is to rest in the gap without checking, without measuring, without collapsing the wave of what is unfolding by observing it through the lens of what used to be. This practice, this resting in the gap, is not passive. I want to be very clear about that, because there is a dangerous misunderstanding in spiritual communities that equates surrender with inaction. What I am describing is not inaction. It is the most precise and demanding form of action available to you. It is the action of holding your attention steady in the new state, refusing to be pulled back into the old measurement, even when every external signal is still echoing the old reality. It is the action of trusting the collapse that has already occurred, even when the decoherence has not yet completed. For those wanting the complete framework behind what we have been exploring, there is something deeper I want to offer you. Have you spent years chasing manifestation, visualizing, affirming, raising your vibration, only to watch the same patterns repeat? Every traditional method assumes the same thing, that you are separate from what you want. That separation was never real. You were chasing a signal you were already broadcasting. Beyond the frequencies, a quantum guide to consciousness mastery walks through all 9 frequencies, from the dense transmissions trapping you through the ascending currents to the master frequencies where consciousness becomes the field. Every method you tried sent a signal outward. This one tunes the signal you already are. Every day you delay, your nervous system broadcasts the same old signal, and breaking free gets harder. So move on it tonight. The link is in the pinned comment below. Now back to the deeper current of what we have been exploring. There is a concept in the philosophy of Alfred North Whitehead that illuminates this beautifully. Whitehead, the great process philosopher, described reality not as a collection of static objects, but as a series of what he called actual occasions of experience. For Whitehead, the universe is not made of things. It is made of events, moments of becoming that arise, experience themselves, and then perish, contributing their data to the next moment of becoming. Reality is not a noun. It is a verb. It is a continuous process of creative advance into novelty. What Whitehead understood, and what most people miss, is that each actual occasion is genuinely new. It inherits from the past, yes. It takes in the data of what came before, but it is not determined by that data. Each moment of becoming has what Whitehead called a subjective aim, a creative impulse toward a specific form of realization that was not fully contained in what preceded it. The past provides the material. The present provides the creativity. And the future is genuinely open, not because it is random, but because each moment of experience is a fresh act of self-determination. Now apply this to your situation. You have been treating your present as if it is determined by your past. You look at the data of your history, your patterns, your old results, your familiar limitations, and you assume that the next moment will be a continuation of that data. But Whitehead is telling you, and quantum mechanics is confirming, that each moment is a new, actual occasion. It inherits from the past, but it is not imprisoned by it. The subjective aim, the creative impulse of this moment, is oriented towards something that has never existed before. And if the deep structure of your being has already shifted, then the subjective aim of your present moments has already changed. The creative impulse that is organizing your experience right now is drawing from a different source than it was before the crossing. You do not need to create the new reality. The new reality is already creating you. Moment by moment, actual occasion by actual occasion, your experience is being assembled from a different blueprint. And the only thing slowing the visible manifestation of that blueprint is your habit of observing through the old one. Let me give you another layer of this, because I want to make sure this lands in your body, not just your intellect. There is a phenomenon that anyone who has gone through a profound internal shift will recognize, and it rarely gets talked about directly. It is the experience of feeling like a stranger in your own life, not in a dramatic, dissociative way, in a quiet, almost mundane way. You walk into your kitchen and something feels different, though nothing has moved. You have a conversation with someone you have known for years, and you notice that you are listening from a different place, responding from a different depth, and the old familiar dynamic between you does not quite activate the way it used to. You look at your own habits, the things you used to reach for automatically, the substances, the distractions, the emotional patterns, and they do not repel you. They just do not fit anymore. Like a coat that belongs to someone your size but not your shape. This is not imagination. This is not wishful thinking. This is the subjective experience of decoherence. The old quantum state, the old you, is losing coherence. The interference pattern that held your old identity together is dissipating. And what is emerging is not something you are building. It is something that was revealed when the old pattern dissolved, like a sculpture that was always inside the marble. The sculptor does not add the form. The sculptor removes what is not the form. And the crossing you have already made was the moment the chisel struck the decisive blow. Everything since then has been marble falling away. But here is where people get confused, and I want to address this directly because it is the place where the most damage is done. When the marble is falling away, it does not feel like liberation. It feels like loss. It feels like things are falling apart. Relationships that used to sustain you start to feel hollow. Ambitions that used to drive you lose their charge. Beliefs that used to comfort you reveal themselves as cages you had decorated so thoroughly you forgot they had bars. And in that falling away, the mind panics. The mind says, I am losing everything. The mind says, something is wrong. The mind says, I need to go back. You cannot go back. Not because going back is forbidden, but because the you who would go back no longer exists. The wave function has collapsed. The superposition that included the old state and the new state has resolved. You are in the new state. And the grief you feel because it is grief, make no mistake. The quiet mourning for the old self, the old certainties, the old comfortable limitations, that grief is not a sign of failure. It is the emotional signature of completion. You are grieving something that is already gone, and grief for what is already gone is the most honest proof that the crossing has occurred. Tell me in the comments, what is the one old pattern or belief that you have noticed losing its grip on you, even if you cannot fully explain why? I want to sit in this for a moment, because our culture is terrible at honoring this part of transformation. We celebrate the breakthrough. We celebrate the arrival. We post about the new beginning. But we almost never honor the death that made it possible. and it is a death. The old self does not evolve into the new self. The old self ends, its patterns decohere, its wave function collapses into the environment, becomes background noise, becomes the faint residual signal that you sometimes pick up late at night when your defenses are down and you feel a pang of something that is not quite nostalgia and not quite sadness, but something in between. That is the old state completing its decoherence. That is the last of the marble falling. Let it fall. Now, there is a specific trap that appears at exactly this stage of the process, and I want to name it clearly so you can recognize it when it comes for you. Because it will come for you, if it has not already. The trap is the demand for proof. The mind, having registered that something fundamental has changed, but unable to point to external evidence, begins to demand verification. It wants a sign. It wants confirmation. It wants the universe to send a signal, a synchronicity, a number sequence, a dramatic external event that validates the internal shift. And this demand for proof is itself the mechanism that delays the manifestation of the proof. Here is why, and this goes back to something very precise in quantum theory. In 1978, John Archibald Wheeler proposed a thought experiment called the delayed choice experiment. Wheeler was one of the most important physicists of the 20th century, the man who coined the term black hole, and his thought experiment was later confirmed in actual laboratory settings. Here is what it demonstrated. In the standard double-slit experiment, you decide before the particle is fired whether to observe which slit it goes through. If you observe, you get particles. If you do not observe, you get waves. Wheeler asked a deceptively simple question. What if you wait until after the particle has already passed through the slits to decide whether to observe? What if you make the choice to measure or not measure after the event has already occurred? The result was astonishing and has been confirmed repeatedly. Even when the choice to observe was made after the particle had already traveled through the apparatus, the result changed retroactively. If you chose to observe, the particle behaved as though it had always been a particle, going through one slit. If you chose not to observe, it behaved as though it had always been a wave, going through both. The future observation reached back and shaped the past event. Sit with that for a moment. The future observation shaped the past. Now bring this into your experience. When you demand proof, when you adopt the posture of the skeptic, when you observe your reality through the lens of, has it changed yet? You are not just measuring the present. You are retroactively shaping the past. You are collapsing the history of your transformation into a narrative of not yet, of still waiting, of incompletion, and the reality you experience will conform to that observation, not because the universe is punishing you, but because that is how observation works. What you look for with conviction is what you find, even retroactively. Conversely, when you rest in the knowing that the crossing has occurred, when you observe your reality from the position of someone who has already arrived, you are not deluding yourself. You are performing the only act of observation that allows the full wave function of your new reality to express itself. You are choosing not to place the detector at the slit. You are allowing the wave to remain a wave, to interfere with itself constructively, to produce the pattern of expanded possibility rather than the narrow track of a single measured, expected outcome. This is not positive thinking. This is not denial. This is a fundamentally different orientation of consciousness, and it is the orientation that your crossing has already prepared you for. The old you could not have held this posture. The old you needed proof because the old you did not trust the process. But you are not the old you, and the evidence of that is precisely the fact that something in you is resonating with these words right now, not as new information, but as recognition. You are not learning this. You are remembering it. The knowledge was encoded in the crossing itself, and these words are simply the key that unlocks the memory. Let me bring this into one more specific frame, because I want to make sure you leave this with something you can use in the moments when the old patterns try to reassert themselves. Because they will try, not because they are strong, but because they are habitual. Decoherence takes time, and during that time, the old interference patterns can produce what look like flare-ups of the old reality. Old emotions surface. Old situations seem to repeat. Old versions of you seem to show up in the mirror. And in those moments, you need something more precise than a general philosophy. You need a specific understanding of what is actually happening. In physics, there is a phenomenon called quantum recurrence, related to the Poincaré recurrence theorem. In a closed system, given enough time, the system will return arbitrarily close to its initial state. The patterns will seem to repeat. The old configuration will appear to reassemble. But, and this is critical, the recurrence is approximate, not exact. The system returns close to the old state, but never precisely to it. And in an open system, one that is interacting with its environment, exchanging energy and information with a larger field, true recurrence becomes vanishingly unlikely. The system is always moving into novelty, even when it appears to be circling back. You are an open system. You are exchanging energy and information with the field of consciousness constantly. So when the old patterns seem to return, when the old emotions flare, when the old situations echo, they are not returning. They are approximating. They are the system's last pass through a region of phase space that it is leaving permanently, and each pass is slightly different, slightly less intense, slightly less convincing. If you watch carefully, you will notice that the old pattern does not grip you the way it used to. It arises, yes, but it does not consume you. It visits, but it does not move in. And that difference, that subtle but unmistakable difference in the depth of the grip, is the measurable evidence that you have already crossed. Here is a practice I want you to carry with you from this point forward. The next time an old pattern arises, an old fear, an old reaction, an old emotional loop, I want you to do something very specific. Instead of fighting it, instead of affirming it away, instead of analyzing it, I want you to simply measure the grip, not the content. The grip. Ask yourself, on a scale that only you can feel, how deeply is this pattern holding me right now compared to the last time it appeared? Do not judge the answer. Do not try to make it smaller. Just notice. Just observe the grip itself, not what it is about, but how strong its hold actually is. What you will find, if you are honest, is that the grip is weaker. Maybe only slightly, maybe significantly, but weaker. And that weakening is not something you achieved through effort. It is the natural result of decoherence. The old state is losing coherence. Its ability to organize your experience is diminishing. And your noticing of that diminishment, your calm, non-reactive observation of the loosening grip, is itself an act of observation that accelerates the decoherence. You are not fighting the old pattern. You are watching it dissolve. And your watching, from the position of the one who has already crossed, is what allows the dissolution to complete. There is something else I want to name, something that is rarely spoken about in these spaces, and it has to do with the specific quality of loneliness that accompanies a genuine crossing. Not all loneliness is the same. There is the loneliness of isolation, of being cut off from others, and that is a wound that needs healing. But there is another kind of loneliness, a loneliness that arises not from being cut off, but from having moved. It is the loneliness of the one who has stepped into a new room and looks back to find that the people they love are still in the old one. Not because those people are wrong or lesser or behind, but because the crossing is individual. It happens one consciousness at a time. And when you cross, you do not bring your world with you. You bring yourself, and then you wait in the new room for the world to find you again. This loneliness is sacred. It is not a problem to be solved. It is the felt sense of the gap between your internal state and your external reality, the same gap we have been exploring from the physics side. And it will close, not because you go back to the old room, but because the new room begins to fill. New resonances find you. New connections form, not through effort, but through frequency matching. The field reorganizes. People, opportunities, circumstances that match your new state begin to appear, not because you attracted them through visualization, but because coherent systems naturally synchronize. It is the same principle that causes pendulum clocks on the same wall to eventually swing in unison. It is not magic. It is physics. Coherent oscillators entrain, but the entrainment takes time. And in the meantime, you sit in the new room alone and you trust the process. And the trust itself is the evidence that you have crossed. Because the old you could not have tolerated this uncertainty. The old you would have rushed back to the familiar room, would have abandoned the new state for the comfort of the known. The fact that you are still here, still sitting in the discomfort, still holding the new frequency even without external confirmation, that is not stubbornness. That is coherence. That is the new state demonstrating its stability by refusing to decohere back into the old one. And here is where I want to bring in something from the tradition of Advaita Vedanta, because this ancient understanding maps onto the physics with remarkable precision. In Advaita, there is a teaching about the three states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. But beyond these three, the sages point to a fourth state, called Turiya. Turiya is not a state alongside the other three. It is the awareness that is present in all three. It is the witness, the one who watches the waking self, the dreaming self, and the sleeping self without being any of them. Turiya is not something you achieve. It is something you recognize. It is always already present. It is the screen on which the movie of your experience is projected, and it does not change when the movie changes. The crossing you have made is, in the language of Advaita, the recognition of Turiya, not as a concept, but as your actual position. You have shifted from identifying with the character in the movie to recognizing yourself as the screen. And the screen does not need the movie to change in order to know itself. The screen is already complete, already whole, already what it is, regardless of what images are being projected onto it. The old patterns, the lingering circumstances, the not yet changed externals, these are images on the screen. They are not the screen, and you are the screen. This is not a metaphor. This is a description of your actual ontological status right now. You are the awareness in which your experience is arising, and that awareness has already shifted. The images are catching up. They always do, but the screen does not wait for the images to change in order to be what it is. Consider sharing this video with someone you know who is in that disorienting space between the old life and the new one. When you share these ideas, you are not just passing along information. You are creating a resonance between two fields of consciousness, reinforcing your own recognition of the crossing while opening a doorway for someone else to recognize theirs. That ripple does not diminish, it amplifies. I want to close this exploration with one final observation, and it is perhaps the most important thing I will say. The reason you are hearing this right now, the reason these words are reaching you at this specific moment in your life, is not coincidence. It is coherence. You are receiving this information because you are vibrationally matched to it. A year ago, these words might have sounded like pleasant philosophy. 5 years ago, they might have sounded like nonsense, but right now they sound like truth. And the reason they sound like truth is that the part of you that recognizes truth has already reorganized itself around the reality these words describe. You are not being convinced. You are being reminded. The crossing already happened. The recognition is just the conscious mind finally receiving the memo that the deeper layers sent long ago. So here is what I am going to ask you to do. Not as a practice, not as an exercise, but as an acknowledgement of what is already real. For the next 7 days, I want you to begin each morning with a single act of recognition. Before you check your phone, before you review your circumstances, before you measure your reality against your expectations, I want you to place your hand on your chest and say, silently or aloud, I have already crossed. Not as an affirmation, not as something you are trying to make true, but as a statement of fact. The way you would say, the sun has already risen when you can see the light through the window, even if you have not yet opened the curtain. And then I want you to notice what happens in your body when you say it. Not what your mind says about it. What your body does. Because the body does not lie. The body does not argue. The body does not need proof. The body knows, and if you pay attention, you will feel something settle when you make that statement. A quiet relaxation, a subtle release of tension you did not know you were holding. That settling is not belief, it is recognition. It is the body confirming what the deeper layers already know. And throughout the day, when the old patterns flare, when the external reality seems to contradict the internal shift, when the mind demands proof and the emotions echo the old state, return to that settling. Not to the words, to the feeling of already having crossed. Let it be your anchor. Let it be the frequency you return to, not through effort, but through recognition. Because the truth is, and I want you to hear this as clearly as I can say it, you have not been preparing for a transformation. You have been living in the aftermath of one. Everything that has felt confusing, disorienting, lonely, uncertain, everything that has felt like falling apart has been the decoherence of an old state that no longer exists. And everything that is coming, everything that is about to become visible, is not arriving from somewhere else. It is emerging from you, from the new state that you already are. The final quantum reality is not a destination. It is a recognition. and you have already arrived. If these words found you at the right moment, if something in you settled as you listened, that is not this video doing something to you. That is you recognizing what was already true. And if you want to continue this exploration, if you want to keep receiving these transmissions at the frequency that matches where you actually are, not where you used to be, then stay close to this space. Subscribe, not as a habit, but as an act of coherence. Leave a word in the comments, not for the algorithm, but for the field. Let the others who have crossed know they are not alone in the new room, because they are not, and neither are you. The crossing is complete. Let the rest catch up.